This is the $10,000 camera setup I use to shoot all my films. And this is the Sony ZVe10, an entry-level camera you can pick up for just $700. Everybody thinks that you need big, expensive equipment to shoot Hollywood-quality films, but I believe it's not the camera that makes an incredible film. It's you, as a filmmaker, utilizing whatever tools are at your disposal to release the life and vision inside of you through film. And to prove it, I chose the ZVe10 to shoot the short film, My Story.
That looks incredible. Camera rolling, sound.
Exactly right.
Totally planned.
I think we're running away at this, so action.
The Sony ZVe10 is an incredible camera for its price. For only $700, you get an APS-C camera that can shoot beautiful 4K footage with lightning-fast autofocus and touch-to-focus tracking. It's my #1 camera recommendation for filmmakers looking to buy their first professional camera, and it's a camera I think can last a filmmaker long into their career. But when you compare it to a more expensive camera, there are definitely a few areas it falls short. This is my Sony a7S III. It's the main character we shoot our commercials and films on at Visionary Studios, and when we rig it out with a good lens, audio recorder, V-mount battery, and everything else, it ends up being about a $10,000 setup. One of the biggest advantages to this camera is the in-body image stabilization inside the camera. Basically, the a7S III has a gyroscope inside of it that counteracts the shakiness of the camera. That gives you a much smoother image without having to put the camera on a tripod or a gimbal. The ZVe10 doesn't have this, which means if you just hold the camera to shoot, you're gonna end up with some pretty shaky footage. The camera does have a digital stabilization that it can apply to the footage, but that crops into the image by 40%, making it much harder to get the blurred out background separation look that lends to a professional looking shot. For most of the short film though, I wanted the footage to look like it was being handheld to add to the intensity of the fight happening on screen. I felt like locked off tripod footage would make the scene feel calmer than I wanted it to, so I had to find a way to make the footage look handheld without actually holding it in my hands. Enter the monopod. Hand holding it, it's super jittery. Unless you're like 16mm or wider, it's super jittery hand holding it. When you get it on the monopod, you can kind of keep the handheld look, but then like still have the stability of something.
So it's not just chaotic handheld.
Yeah. The other big advantage the a7S III has against the ZVe10 is the size of its sensor. The a7S III has a full-frame sensor that's about 1.5 times bigger than the APS-C sensor of the ZVe10. That means when framing up the same shot on both the Sony a7S III and the ZVe10, you'll see that the a7S III has a much blurrier background. Again, this lends to a much more professional, cinematic look. So to compensate with the ZVe10, I'm gonna shoot using prime Sigma lenses that can stop their aperture down to f1.4 and blow out that background. The 16, 30, and 56mm Sigma trio cost around $300 per lens and played a big part in letting me shoot the incredible footage you're seeing now. I ended up shooting most of the film on the Sigma 30mm with a few of the close-ups on the 56mm. I only ended up using the 16mm lens for one shot that actually made the cut of the film, so honestly, I'd be completely comfortable shooting the entire film again only using the Sigma 30mm f1.4 lens. So everything was trucking along for the film and we were getting ready to shoot when the night before, I had a thought. If I'm shooting a film with the intention of showing that you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars on equipment to make a beautiful film, I probably shouldn't use my $10,000 lighting package. That would that'd kind of defeat the point, wouldn't it? So I scrapped my normal lighting kit and opted for just a couple lights that cost less than $1,000 altogether. The Godox TL120 became my main key light for the film. I primarily used it to mimic the point lights in the ceiling of the location and redirected the intensity and direction of how those lights normally fall in the room. Then I used two Godox TL30s as hair and accent lights throughout the shoot, adding kicks of light wherever I needed it for individual shots. Finally, I used the aperture 100D set between 10 and 35% to again mimic the wall lights on the other side of the room. And I also threw up a Neewer 660 set to the coldest color temperature possible to simulate what I could imagine would be moonlight coming in through a skylight off screen. With my lighting plan set to go, we were all ready to shoot the film. But by the time I finished my shot list the night before the shoot, it was already 4 a.m. and I needed to be up in only 2 hours to get everything packed up and ready to shoot. When I tell you that I showed up to set tired that morning, I mean it.
Just for the week.
I'd been putting in late nights and early mornings for weeks, getting everything coordinated for the project, and a 2-hour night of sleep the night before was not how I planned to get ready for the shoot day. But nevertheless, I crawled my way onto location and we started setting up for the first scene. We set up the lights, the camera, and when talent came out of hair and makeup and wardrobe and walked into the scene, we saw the film come to life. As soon as I saw that first frame, I knew the day was gonna go well. That shot did not look like it was filmed on a camera that cost less than $1,000. And in that moment, the heart behind the whole project was justified. It's not the camera you're shooting on, it's not the lights you're using or the equipment that you have access to. It's you, as a filmmaker with a vision sealed up inside of you that brings to life incredible films regardless of the tools you have at your disposal. Altogether, we were on set shooting for 12 and a half hours that day. We captured some incredible performances and heart-pulling emotion. Behind the scenes, we spent the entire day cracking jokes and laughing our way through the shot list. The footage looked incredible, and you better believe when we wrapped that evening, I went home and crashed. I've never slept so good in my life. You can see the film My Story now on the Visionary Studios YouTube channel. It stands as a testament to the belief that no matter who you are, what your background is, even if you don't have hardly any equipment to your name and you're like me and you never went to film school or had any formal training in filmmaking, you can make an incredible film that rivals the most professional looking projects out there. Do not go out there and waste your money on expensive equipment thinking it'll make you into a professional, respected filmmaker. It isn't the camera that makes eye-catching, heart-stopping films. It's you, the filmmaker, using whatever resources are at your disposal to release the life and vision that's already inside of you through film. That's why we've used this opportunity at Visionary Studios making this short film on the Sony ZVe10 to put together what we've intended to be the most comprehensive guide on the internet to shooting incredible films using the Sony ZVe10. From on-set lighting breakdowns to exhaustive equipment overviews and camera settings to make your footage look like it was shot on a Hollywood backlot, we demonstrate for you how to actually shoot the highest quality films possible on the Sony ZVe10 by bringing you alongside our journey making the film My Story. Check it out by clicking on the first link in the description to learn more about how you can use your ZVe10 to create films that release the life and vision already inside of you.